So where are these samples collected? Almost all states provide some guidance, either from the state regulator, the Agricultural Extension Office, or state environmental agencies, for instance in Louisiana. If at all possible, water samples should be collected directly from the well, but this is often not the case. In fact, in most cases it's not the case because the well is sealed. So in these cases, you need to be able to collect a sample as close to the well as possible and avoid things like water softeners, pressure tanks, and other things that could interfere with the water quality in terms of assessing what's actually the water quality in the aquifer from where you're pulling your domestic water supply. So how are these samples collected? Actually, there's remarkably little information provided as to how to collect the samples properly. Exceptions are Colorado and Wyoming. Other states make references to existing protocols, but offer very little in terms of specific information on how to best go about sampling private wells. If the samples are not properly collected, they are almost worthless, and analysis is a waste of time and money. And there have been cases where companies have collected water samples as part of their baseline monitoring program, only to have those samples not be of any use to them in dealing with complaints because of the way in which they were collected. So there are written, established protocols that have been peer-reviewed. And again, some good examples are on the Colorado and Wyoming websites, but also other references, such as the USGS. I want to talk about now the issue of transparency. This is important, I believe, to establish trust among the different stakeholders and parties. And this can be very important in any kind of baseline water quality sampling program, that the public be involved in establishing these programs. The other issue is documentation. This documents how these samples are actually collected. This should be written documentation on field sampling procedures, also photographic documentation in terms of the condition of the well and other issues related to the property. Some of the key issues that need to be documented are regional background information that's readily available, particularly through USGS. Homeowner interviews are another key documentation effort, talking to the homeowner about their water use practices. Sampling location. Where are the samples collected in the stream, if not at the wellhead? Preparation, calibration of instruments, documenting the purge rate of pumping the well, criteria for sample initiation. When do you begin to collect your samples? It's important to clear the well of old stagnant water that's in the well, in the pipes in the house, before you collect your sample. Most often, this is accomplished by evacuating a certain volume related to what's in the pipes and in the well, or looking at water quality criteria such as temperature, specific conductance, and other water quality parameters to look at stabilization. So I referred to well purging. It really depends on what your sample objective is. If the objective is to obtain a representative sample of the aquifer supplying the drinking water, then how that well is purged is critical. This means how the well is pumped prior to collecting the sample. The initial water will come from the well itself, from pipes in the house, treatment systems, and you want the water that's fresh water in the aquifer in terms of your analysis. So when you pump the well, you want to allow as smooth, non-turbulent flow of that water as possible. And then you want to use the stabilization of water quality parameters as a guide to the presence of fresh water in your sample line. things like pH, temperature, specific conductance. Understanding the borehole volume is also important if you have that information. If the well is sealed, you might not have it. In that case, looking at these water quality parameters is the best guide. Turbidity, while not a parameter you should sample while you're purging, is another parameter that should be taken when you do collect the samples. It can help give you information about the quality of the samples and about the quality of the well. Highly turbid samples from a well do indicate some problems with that well. Usually, you collect more than one pre-drill sample. And that helps address this issue of variability. And there can be both temporal and spatial variability in water samples from aquifers. There are some problems that you can encounter when you're trying to obtain representative samples. For instance, if the well is a low-yielding well that has a long recovery time, what this means is when you pump the well, after a certain period, it actually may go dry. And this is because where that pump is located in the aquifer is not providing enough volume of water. So wells that have that issue present a major challenge in terms of getting good quality samples. Fortunately, we don't run into that very often, because if that was an issue, people would typically re-drill their well. You may also, though, have mixing of different aquifers in a well, and this can affect water quality. And again, the way around this is to get the same amount of water out of the well when you do repeated samplings, and this avoids these issues of variability. If you have large differences in temperature between the actual formation water and the temperature at the surface, this could also affect some parameters. So noting all these issues on your documentation sheets is important. Other things to note are the history of complaints, the existing water quality information that's out there in terms of both private and public wells. And again, as I've said before, USGS databases are good sources for this information. So written and oral communication with the well owner, I've mentioned previously, again, is important. A lot of information can be provided by the actual well owner in terms of things that they observe, whether that be sputtering out of their faucets, whether it be changes in the clarity of the water, smells that they might encounter from time to time in their water. All of these are important things to inquire about to the homeowner and then document. So baseline water quality is increasingly important across the U.S., and I predict that more states will establish rules and regulations that address baseline water quality, as all states have yet to do that. I think other trends we're going to see are better ways to categorize the information that we're collecting and being able to then compare locations within a state, across the country. And I think in doing this and in being transparent about it, I think this will reduce a lot of the anxiety that's out there with regards to oil and gas activities and impacts on water quality, particularly domestic wells. So I'm very encouraged by what states have been doing recently, and I think things will only get better in that regard.